Yes. Is it visible?
Yes,
Now,
sir. Invisible and audible, sir.
today, today I am going to explain the topic variables. Now, coming to the definition of variables. Variables are defined as properties of kinds of characteristics of some event or object or person that can take a different values or amounts. That means variables are defined as the properties of or kinds of characteristics. Whatever the characteristics in the phenomena of the object that we have to study, that we have to define as a variable. And it may be either object or person that can take a different values or amounts. Generally, variables are defined and classified into independent variable or dependent variable. And here we have to very important qualitative variable and quantitative variables. And again, discrete variables or continuous variables. These are the types of variables. Now, let us see the first independent variable and dependent variable. A variable can serve as independent in one study and dependent in other. That means when you have to take one
That's
variable
slide
as yes, when we
slide
take
change
one,
outlet.
what mean? Is it audible?
స్లోగా ఉంది సార్.
Voice, okay. Voice volume పెంచాలి. Visible గా ఉంది నాన్న?
Visible గా ఉంది, sir.
Okay. Shall I continue?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. First, we have to define the independent variable and dependent variable. Now, a variable can serve as independent in one study that may be dependent in another case also. That is very important. When we have to define one variable as independent, someone it may be treated as a dependent variable. Now, coming to the definition of independent variable, independent variables are variables that are manipulated or changed by the researcher. Manipulated or changed by the researcher. Changed by the researcher and whose effects are measured and compared. And whose measures are? Effects are measured and compared. This is very important. Now, for example, an experiment might be compared the effectiveness of 4 types of drugs. Let us see in the pharma. Let's say we need to test the effectiveness of 4 drugs. In this case, variable is choosing as a type of drug. Variable is choosing as type of drug. When a variable is manipulated by an experimenter, then it is called an independent variable. This is the definition. When a variable is manipulated by the experimenter, that means the researcher, then it is called an independent variable. The experiment seeks to determine the effect of the independent variable on the relief from the depression. Suppose a patient is having some pain or headache or fever like this. The drug is applied onto this person. Drug is the independent, but the relief of the person is the known as a dependent variable. Depending on the nature of the independent variable, the pain will be increased or decreased on the person. Therefore, the pain or relief is known as the dependent variable. That is very, very important. In this example, relief from depression is called dependent variable. When is drug is applied on the person is independent variable, and the relief on the person is called depression is called relief from the depression is called dependent variable. In general, independent variable is manipulated by the experimenter and its effects on the dependent variable are measured. Now, these are the general types of the variables. One is a qualitative variable and another is quantitative variable. Here, qualitative means it refers the quality of the variable, and quantitative variable means it defines the quantity of the variable. That means it is measurable variable. It is measurable quantity of the variable. It is non-measurable quantity of the variable, non-measuring characteristic. This is measurable characteristic. That is very, very important. Qualitative means non-numeric. In the other way, we are defining non-numeric. Quantitative means numeric. Now, qualitative variables is classified into two categories. One is the categorical or nominal variable, and other is ordinal variable. Here, quantitative variables, discrete variables, and continuous variable. Now, nominal variables means it cannot be defined on the ranks. It is defined on the gender or whatever the variables like that, or the causes are like that. And ordinal means it follows some ranking and order that we have to study clearly in the next event. Now, let us come to the definition of qualitative and quantitative variables. Qualitative variables are those that express a quality attributes such as hair color, eye color, religion, favorite movie, gender, and so many examples are there. That means all these are comes under the qualitative nature. The values of qualitative variables do not imply numerical ordering. This is very, very important. These are not defined on the numerical value. Not defined on numerical value. That means, in other way, qualitative variables are also referred as categorical variables. Categorical variables. Qualitative variables are the variables which takes the values that cannot be ordered. That is very, very important. That cannot be ordered in a logical or natural way. Suppose these some variables which can be ordered and logical in natural way, then we call that one as quantitative variable. That we have to study in the next slide. Now, for example, the color of eye, the nature of the political party, type of transport used to travel to work, all are qualitative variables. These are the some different type of examples that in nature. That is very, very important. You have to study different type of examples in the real time. That you have to. Now, it is common to assign the numbers to the qualitative variables. See here in the previous slide we are defining the only color like that. Here we are saying that it is common to assign the numbers to the qualitative variables for practical purpose of data analysis. Is it right? Now we have to define, for that also we have to define the numeric values, qualitative variables, numbers to that one. How that we have to see in the next one. For intake, we consider the variable gender. Gender means either male or female. Then each observation can take either the value male or female. Now, gender of the students, then gender, when you see an application in our class, gender is there, male or female is like that. Then we may decide to assign 1 to male and 0 to female. That means we are assigning the numerical value. That is the meaning of this one. Assigning the numerical value. Then the variable gender remains a qualitative variable. This gender is a qualitative variable, but we are assigning the numerical value only to the genders, male or female, like this. That is also one of the important technique that we have to use it in data analysis. Though the variable is qualitative, we are assigning the numerical value for the calculation purpose in data science. Now again we move to the quantitative variable. That means it is only defines on numeric values. Quantitative variables represents measurable quantities. Measurable means countable. These values which these variables can take can take ordered in logical or natural way. Can be ordered in natural way. Is it right? That means quantitative variables are those variables that are measured in terms of numbers. That is very, very important. Quantitative variables are always measured in terms of numbers. For example, for quantitative variables, what are the examples? Weight of a person, height of a person, size of shoes, size, price of the houses, number of semesters the student studied, weight of a person. All these are the examples which are defined in terms of numeric. Therefore, we call that one as the quantitative variables. Now, after that, we have defined the discrete variable. Discrete variables are variables which can only take a finite number of values. This is very, very important that you have to again study in the third unit, I think so. Discrete variables and continuous variables of a random experiment. Now, discrete in the sense that variables are only finite in number. All these are numeric values, but they are, when countably, they are infinite in number of values. Say 1 and 2 and 3, like this. These are the numbers. Then we call that variable is known as discrete variable. Discrete variable. All the qualitative variables are discrete, such as color of eye or region of the country, but quantitative variables can also be discrete. Both qualitative are also discrete and quantitative are also discrete. This is very, very important concept. Remember, all of you, at the end of the slides, we see one diagram related to all these variables. That is very, very important. Here we have to note down that all qualitative variables are also discrete, and as well as quantitative variables are also discrete. When you are assigning the numerical values to the quantitative variables, therefore, if numbers are finite, then we call that one variable is known as the discrete variable. In that sense or phenomena, we have to define the discrete. Qualitative variables are also discrete. Now, for example, number of shoes, number of semesters in a class, studied a student in a class, like this. Again, continuous variable. In the previous, in discrete variable, we have to it takes only a finite number of values, where it takes an infinite number of values. A variable can take infinite number of values. Then we call that one as continuous variable. We call that one as continuous variable. Now, let us see the examples for the continuous variable. The time it takes travel to university. When we move from your place to the university, what time you reach the university, which is known as a continuous variable. Say how many hours you reach the university. Tell me, anyone. Anyone respond, please. Okay. So naturally we are saying that 6 hours are or 7 hours are, like that. One person may tell, sir, I can move from my place to the university, it takes 6 hours. Tell me, D2. Either 6 hours, 6 hours or 7 hours, like that. Okay, is it audible, Salma?
Audible, sir.
Audible? Okay.
Okay.
Now, that means it may take 6 hours or 7 hours, like this. Is it right? Okay. One person saying that I reached to Jain to Kakinada within 7 hours, or one person may take 8 hours, or like that. That means depending on the situation or traveling mode, a person can reach from one place to another place. It is in the phenomena which is known as the continuous variable. Is it right? The length of an antelope. The length of an antelope is also a continuous variable. Okay. Now, the distance between two planets. The distance between two planets. These are the some better examples to the continuous random, and some more examples that already we have to discuss in the third unit also. Right? The waiting time of a person in doctor's cabin, the repairing time of a watch clock, the repairing time of a fridge. What way it takes them naturally, the technician may say that, sir, today, tomorrow I will definitely solve that problem and I will send that one, sir, and but it is not possible to him, and he take one more extra day to complete the work. So like that, such type of variables that we have to take as a consideration, which are known as the continuous variables. Waiting time of a person in front of the bank counter. These are the continuous examples. Now, again, see, sometimes continuous variables are variables which are measured rather than counted. Sometimes it is not possible to measure, but they are the, wait, it takes the values between two intervals. That means continuous variable means it takes the values between two intervals. For example, the thoughts and consideration from the above indicates that different variables contain different amount of information. A useful classification of scale of variables by the concept of scale of variable that we have to see as follows. This is a very, very important methodology that we have to use it for distinguish the nature of the variables. The thoughts and considerations from the above indicates that different variables contain different amounts of information. That means one variable gives one information and the other variable gives another information. A person went to the doctors, he gives the information regarding the hospital information. A person moved into the college, he gives the information regarding the college type of information. A person moves into the market, he gives the information regarding the vegetables information. Is it right? That means depending on the nature of the considerations or thoughts of the person, he defines the different, he defined and deforms the different variables. And for that, a useful classification of scale of variable by the concept of scale of variables that we have to see in the next one. The one is the nominal scale. First one is the nominal scale or nominal variable. Now the values of a nominal variable cannot be ordered. When you see the objects or the whatever the things or persons, it cannot be predicted in terms of the order in the same of the phenomena or ranked in the phenomena. Therefore, such type of variables are treated as nominal variables. For examples, gender of a person. It can be either male or female. Status of an application that the student is applying for a job. or the student is applying for getting a branch to select the branch in MSET also. That means the application is pending and not pending. We don't know whether exactly where it is. It cannot be taken in the form of an order also. That means such type of variables that we have to define in nature is known as nominal scale. Is nominal scale. Now, this is one more important. Ordinal scale that we have to put in the form of an order and a logical way. That means, see that definition, the values of an ordinal variable can be ordered. Whatever the values that we have to define for a variable, we have to put in the form of an order. However, the difference between these values cannot be interpreted in a meaningful way. Cannot be interpreted in a meaningful way. That we have to see an example. Possible values of an education level. See, every student is coming from no education in the primary. Before primary, no education, none. And after moving into the primary school, he has no the primary education. Then again upper primary, that is secondary education, and university, you have to get the degree, university degree, like this. It follows some order. No primary, secondary, university degree can be ordered meaningfully, but the differences between these values cannot be interpreted. What is the differences between these four degrees? We don't know exactly. We cannot define that one. Here, he is taking the feed with her mother as a milk and take the food from that one. He is something known from her mother. Is it right? That is also one type of education. The baby as attracts or gain the knowledge from her mother or from his mother. That type is also one type of education. And when move into the school, they just fundamentals and basics of the
Sir, PPT not visible, sir.
PPT is not visible. Once again, wait. Hmm? Okay? కనిపిస్తున్నానా?
Yes, sir.
ఈ స్లైడ్ అయినా ముందు కూడా కనపడలేదా?
ముందు ఏం కనిపించలేదు సార్.
ఎక్కడి నుంచి కనపడలేదు నాన్న? మళ్ళీ చెప్పాలి అవి. ఒక్క నిమిషం చూపిస్తాను స్లైడ్స్.
Nominal scale.
నామినల్ అక్కడి నుంచి కనిపించలేదా?
Yes, sir.
కనిపించింది నాన్న?
Yes, sir. Now visible,
Yes,
sir.
ఇది ఓకేనా? Shall I go to next one?
Yes, sir.
If it is not visible to anyone, please immediately inform to me. Okay? This is the nominal variable. This is the nominal variable that we have to define. Male, female, and status of an application is equal to pending, not pending. Okay. Then we move into the ordinal scale or ordinal variable. The values of an ordinal variable can be ordered. That means we are forming the variable in terms of an order and put it in the form of a ranking also. However, the difference between these variables cannot be interpreted in a meaningful way. Cannot be interpreted in a meaningful way. Is it right? For example, the possible values of education level. For example, we have to see the possible values of education level. None, primary education, secondary education, and university degree. These are the, we have to put in the form of an order. No education and primary education, secondary education, and university degree can be ordered meaningfully. But we can't define the differences between these educational levels. We can't define the differences between these values cannot be interpreted also, because each level is also has its own importance. In the none level, a baby can gain the knowledge from or from his mother or her mother. Is it right? He take the how to walk that and how to talk with the parents, like that. Some things he has to know from his mother or from her mother. Is it right? This is the none first one. And coming to the school education primary level, just here he just gained all the primary values, and after that some knowledge he is gaining in this education also. And here now you are studying the btech level, here you get this some knowledge in this one, and each one has a meaningful values, but the differences we cannot define. That is very, very important in such a phenomena, such type of variables that we have to take into consideration as the ordinary variable, and we have to define that one as an ordinary scale. Okay. And coming to the another one example, the satisfaction with the product. When you purchase a product or cell phone or what, laptop or whatever that means, when you purchase that one and use that one, you may be satisfied, unsatisfied, and satisfied, and very satisfied. We have to define the categories of the satisfaction of that product in an ordinal variable, because the variables can be ordered but cannot be compared in numerical way. All these satisfied, unsatisfied, very satisfied cannot be compared numerically, but it has its own property. It has its own meaningful way, but differences cannot be given by the numerical phenomena. That is why ordinal scale is very, very important. Okay. Then again we move into the continuous scale. This is the continuous scale. The values of a continuous variable can be ordered. This is also very, very important. The values of continuous variable can be ordered. Also, the differences between these values can be interpreted in a meaningful way. In the previous variable, ordinary variable, we cannot be interpret the meaning differences in the meaningful way. Meaning is there, but cannot be defined the differences between and cannot be interpreted. But in continuous variable, the differences between these values can be interpreted in a meaningful way. That is very, very important for continuous variable. Now, let us take an example. The heights of a person refers to a continuous variable because the values can be ordered, and the differences of these values can be compared with the other students also. Suppose you have a weight of 5.6 inches, and we have to take the average heights of the all in a class, CSA or B or C or DL sections. We know the highest value of the class and we know the lowest value of the class. When a person has to take that one, he easily compare that person to the maximum height and minimum height and average height in the class. It has its own property to define the characteristics of the variable in continuous phenomena. That is why in such cases, a variable is defined in a meaningful way and defined and ordered, and its differences are also interpreted in a meaningful way. So such type of variables are very, very important in sometimes. In data structure, some only rigidly taking as a continuous variable, some only rigidly taking as a previous one. Ordinal variables are also. Each and every variable has its own importance in data science. Is it right? Now again we see into the interval scale. This is also one more important condition. Interval scale, only differences between the values but not ratios can be interpreted. When you have to compare the values between two values and cannot be take the ratios can be interpreted. The heights can be compared in a class, but the ratios of the heights cannot be compared. For example, scale should be temperature measured in degrees. Interval scale should be temperature measured in temperature. The difference between -2 degrees and 4 degrees. What is the difference between these -2 degrees and 6 degrees? -2, -1, 0. What is this difference? This one up to 4. What is the difference? This value is equal to 6. That means the difference is easily we can measure in the interval scale from -2 to 4. We can easily, first day I can explain the closed interval -2 to 4. What is this? The difference means difference is equal to 6. Is it right? You can easily measure. But coming to this variables, we need to find out the ratios -2/4. But the ratio are 4/2, -2/4 or 4/2. My 4 by -2. What is this value? 4 by -2 is equal to -2. Does not meaning that -4. Does not meaning that -4. Is it right? Does not meaning that -4. Is it right? It is twice as cold as 2 degrees. See, observe here the difference is equal to 6 degrees, but when you compare the ratios for these two, that is the upper value minus lower value, that is the ratio. Ratio is equal to upper value by lower value, that is equal to -4 degrees. That is equal to -2 and is not compared the meaning of the -4. So twice as cold as a C. This is the important technique that you have to use in the ratio scale also. Here we are defining the ratio scale. Both the differences and the ratios can be interpreted. Speed is equal to 60 kilometers per hour more than 20 kilometers per hour. 60 kilometers per hour is 3 times faster than 20 kilometers per hour. Its speed is equal to, difference is equal to 40 kilometers. Difference is also measured, and also the ratio is also measured. Ratio is equal to 3. That is the importance of the ratio scale. Then one more thing, absolute scale. The absolute scale is same as the ratio scale with the exception that the values are measured in natural units. Natural units means you have to take the positive value. Natural numbers means positive numbers. Is it right? Therefore, we have to take in the natural units. Absolute modulus of -2, -3, that we have to count it as a positive values. Therefore, we treated that one as the natural units. For example, number of semesters studied where no artificial unit such as kept kmph or degrees is needed. The values are simply 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. This is the absolute scale. This is the absolute scale. Now, grouped data. This is one more important concept regarding the variables. Sometimes data may be available in a summarized form instead of original data value. One may know only category or group of the values belongs to. The data is available in a grouped form. We call the respective variable capturing their information as a grouped variable. Sometimes these variables are known as categorical variables. These grouped variables sometimes are known as categorical variables. Any group or categorical variable which can only take 2 values is called a binary value, either 0 or 1. In the previous example, we have to define the gender, male or female. We are assigning the numeric values for male is equal to 1 and female is equal to 0. Therefore, it is known as the categorical variable, and here also we are mentioning that one as the binary variable. We are mentioning that one as the binary variable. Now, these are the main important key points on all these scales. Qualitative data is always discrete, but quantitative data can be both discrete and continuous. This is very, very important. Qualitative is only discrete, but quantitative is both discrete and continuous. These are the examples that you have to write in the here. This is the size of shoes or grouped variables or temperature like this. And one more point, nominal variables are always qualitative and discrete. Nominal variables are always qualitative and discrete. Example, color of the eye. Whereas continuous variables are always quantitative. Continuous variables are always quantitative. And categorical variables can be both qualitative and quantitative. And categorical variables are never be continuous. It never be continuous. This is the important classification regarding the variables. See, all of you, very, very careful this one. When you have to observe that discrete variable is a nominal variable may be discrete. Qualitative variables are classified into two categories. One is the qualitative. Discrete variables are classified into two categories. One is qualitative and other is quantitative. And classification only two types. One is discrete and other is continuous. Okay. Now these qualitative variables are nominal and ordinal. Categorical variable also nominal. Therefore, discrete variables are also categorical. Discrete variables are also nominal. Discrete variables are also ordinal. And discrete variables are also quantitative. Is it right? But continuous variables are never be discrete, never be qualitative, and never be nominal. This one. Right? Now, quantitative variables are always continuous. This is the important tree diagram related to the structure or classification of variables. See, all of you, this is one very, very important diagram. It is not possible to find out these structure in anywhere in the textbooks also. This is very, very important. From this classification, we have to define all the properties related to the variables also. Okay, are you understanding this one? Now, any doubts? Now you have to ask.
PPT share చేయండి సార్.
Yes, yeah, 1 minute.
PPT షేర్ చేయండి సార్.
చేస్తాను.